The Kess train continues onward. All right, I played this game kind of towards the tail end of March, and in fact, it came right on the heels of the first loss for the Kess deck. It had, since its beginnings right at the start of March, I had a 41 game win streak going. And right before this game was played, had just lost a game. I'm actually going to make a video about that because I think it's quite a noteworthy and interesting game in itself. But right afterward, obviously, I was still smarting from the loss and queued up a game against Batman77, running a commander I'd never actually played against before, this Obosh, the Preypiercer black-red thing. And yeah, well, you'll see how this goes. It was quite an adventure and quite a battle. Absolutely worthy of a video. So sit back and enjoy. Here we go. All right, I've got Kess, obviously, and I think that I'm going first here. This draw is phenomenal. I mean, it's not a ridiculous draw. It's just about as good a draw as you can hope for, though, minus the broken mana artifacts. I've got all the mana I need. Search in 2 different forms is a charm to kill, potentially opposition agent, and Dack Fade to steal early artifacts. Definitely like a 90th percentile hand. Very happy to keep it. And let's kick it off. Oh, it looks like he's first. So he leads with just a Blood Crypt. His commander's interesting, actually. It's got this companion mechanic going on with it. And I'm not actually sure how Companion is currently working with Commander as like a separate thing outside the game, which is so strange. You may put it in your hand from outside the game anytime you cast sorcery. I guess, I don't know if Companions are turned off or turned on in Commander right now. I'm not sure what the rules are. But you can definitely still use these Companion Commanders for your main Commander, obviously, because since he's got one here, maybe you just can't play it with the Companion extra hand size thing going on. If the source you control with an odd mana value would deal damage, it deals double that damage. So I expect, well, not only does this thing hit for 6 a turn, but I assume he's got a deck just filled with odd casting cost things that deal a lot of damage. So maybe very hyper-aggressive. But it does cost 5, and I feel with this hand I should be able to blunt it fairly easily. All right, I'm going to lead with Polluted Delta, go get Underground Sea, and just cast Ponder. Let me take a look at the deck here, actually. I haven't looked to see if I've got those later changes in it. This is pretty close to the deck that's in the deck tech. I think there's difference is literally just 1 card. What if I pull from it? Actually, I wonder for the removal spell. See if anything just leaps out at me here. It's already got Drown in the Lock in it, which was added fairly early on in design or in development. Just going over it. Anything interesting? I think I'm still running the Mox Opal. That may have been the card that was pulled. Yeah, nothing jumping out at me. I think all these cards are still in here. It might actually be Mox Opal. That might have been the card that was removed, or maybe Chrome Mox. One of the two, I think, was pulled to make room for the removal spell. The rest of the deck looks pretty much the same and should be familiar to anybody who's watched the deck tech. But I'm going to go get Underground Sea here, cast Ponder. And the top is Fierce Guardianship, Gilded Lotus, Strip Mine. Strip Mine's really handy. Like to see that. Fierce Guardianship, obviously great against Black-Red. Gives me a lot of safety in just running Kess out and protecting it from removal. And the Gilded Lotus, not really a huge fan of drawing that, so I'm going to put that on the bottom and make sure that I draw Guardianship and Strip Mine, and then hopefully shuffle away the Gilded Lotus, as I may use the Strip Mine and only have 3 other mana sources. I'm just going to hold on to the Fierce Guardianship for now. Let's see what he does. He's got Swamp, oh shit, Gilded or Jeweled Lotus. First time I think I've ever actually, well, not the first time I've had the card played against me, certainly the first time I've had the card played against me this early in the game, though. This is kind of the nightmare scenario. When your opponent has a, I mean, I guess he could have effectively done it with Mana Vault on turn 1 as well. But yep, turn 2 Obosh, the Preypiercer. Okay, well, I'm going to see what other things he's got going on, but hopefully, I expect he might have some weird double strike cards and stuff in here, potentially. I'm not sure what their mana costs are, but when you get this doubling thing going on, you can cause some severe damage to your opponent. So I'm suddenly just instantly sweating like this. I'm on a clock. I'm going to Strip Mine Blood Crypt, even though this means I'm going to draw Gilded Lotus. Actually, I guess I have a Mystical Tutor to avoid having to draw Gilded Lotus next turn. So I'm going to Strip Mine him. I figure he may have just kept this draw because he had turn 2 Commander, and if I can get rid of the Blood Crypt, he may just have a swamp and a thing that's hitting me for 6 a turn, which, while nasty, isn't a whole lot different from getting hit by an early Sarah Ascendant or something. And I feel that I should be able, with these tools in my hand, I should still be able to dig my way out around the Obosh. I don't actually have hard removal in the deck yet. We'll get to this in a second, but I don't have hard removal yet. Like the God, why do I keep forgetting the card? The black removal spell that kills enchantments and creatures. The name keeps eluding me. But obviously, this kind of a game actually is one of the reasons why I really felt that the deck needed it. You just need to often have the ability to just tutor for spot removal. I'm not running Terminate. I'm not running any of the other things like Go for the Throat or Doomblade or any of those cards. And I think just the flexibility of the enchantment and our creature killing card makes it more than worth it. So I go for the Strip Mine play, and my opponent absolutely wrecks me with deflecting swat. My God, this is sort of like the nightmare scenario. This is demonstrative of some of these new free tools that have been added to the format. And in fact, I talked at length in one of my earlier videos about the combination of Jeweled Lotus alongside both deflecting swat and Fierce Guardianship. The ability to ramp your giant commander out quickly and then defend it for free with these two cards. And this is exactly what happened this game. My opponent, Mr. Batman, has not only countered the Strip Mine, is killing my Underground Sea on top of that. And when this happens, I'm just like, Jesus, did I just lose the game here? I mean, how could I not, right? Stone Raining my own land, literally losing 2 lands in one turn, trying to set him back and enabling his guy to just bash me with impunity. So I sit here just staring at this for a second. I realize, okay, well, he's got 4 cards in hand. I'm going to have to deal with whatever comes afterward, but I'm probably just going to have to Mystical Tutor here. I need to do something to interact with Obosh, and that means that I'm going to have to just bounce it in a couple turns and pray, because I don't have any other hard removal that can kill it. Oh God, so sad. So Mystical Tutoring sheepishly, and I'm going to put Cyclonic Rift on top of my deck, but it is so bad. Like, I don't even have the card that bounces Obosh in my hand. That's just such a brutal interaction. All right. And he's got Bojuka Bog for me just to further drive the knife into my stomach to ensure that if I do get Kess online later on, I can't reuse these effects either. It's just brutal. And he's got Harsh Mentor. Holy shit. Well, this at least is not an odd source of damage, right? This is, yeah, odd mana value. So this thing doesn't actually deal 4 to me every time I try to sack a fetch land. It still sucks, though. I take 6. I'm going to be taking 8 a turn. I have nothing in play. And at this point in the game, I was thinking, man, I'm going to lose 2 games in a row after winning 41 in a row. Pretty depressing. But we'll see what happens. All right, what else has he got? 3 mana. Oh, Lord. File Smasher. Yep, bad to worse. Taking 8. And I'm going to have to take 2 more damage just to sack the Wooded Foothills right now, and I'm going to have to go do that. I actually wait to see if I draw first, hoping to thin my deck of land. So I'm going to sack that at the end of the turn. He's got 3 cards in hand. Maybe I've got like some outside chance here. I at least do have Is It Charm to handle the Harsh Mentor, but that's about it. And I drew this worthless Mishra's Workshop. All right, well, I'm going to bounce this guy back into his hand, and at least I've got 1 turn of reprieve. I mean, I'm just under the hammer here. This is going to be tons of damage coming in, plus whatever he casts is going to deal additional damage to me. I'm already at 22. I can like Merchant Scroll for Force of Will to try to keep the commander out of play, but this game is trickling away real fast. I'm so far away from being able to even cast Kess. I got to just hope he just doesn't have any plays left in his hand, or that they're all expensive. So these 2 guys crash in, taking me down to 18. I'm just thinking, God, do not have a land and a planeswalker or something. And he passes. Whew, okay. Got a chance. Ooh, Lightning Bolt's interesting. Well, that's actually critical card to draw. That's 3 damage and a way to interact with a stupid Vial Smasher. And so as much as I want a Merchant Scroll to go get some more defense here, I just feel like I have to kill off Vial Smasher right away. Who knows? There's like delve spells and stuff that can deal tons of extra damage to. I just can't let that thing sit and play. So I'm going to hold on to the Workshop, as it's potentially something to throw away to the Dak Faden if I'm able to draw another land. All right, I've staunched some of the bleeding here, down to 16, and he has no more play with 6 cards in hand. I just wonder what he's got. Okay, well, now I got him just Merchant Scroll. Just try to fortify my position, but first I'm actually I'm going to Is It Charm the Harsh Mentor down, just to try to stop the damage here. This does leave me vulnerable for a turn, but I feel that just saving every point of life here is going to be integral to surviving this game. And he's considering that he had nothing to do on last turn. He's not going to make 2 plays on this turn, probably. At max, he'll play 1. And having 16 life could really be instrumental to me surviving. And he just got another land. Wow, what is his hand right now? I mean, is it just stocked with things that cost 5? Hopefully I don't have to find out. All right, come on deck. Land. Coalition Relic. Fantastic. All right, so first things first, I am going to Merchant Scroll here, and I'm just going to go get Force of Will. Since I can keep his commander out of play. And I can play this Coalition Relic thanks to the wonderful Mishra's Workshop that was sitting in my hand. Whew. Okay, a little bit of breathing space. And on his turn, he plays a Stuffy Doll, which is a really strange choice, but I guess the Stuffy Doll deals damage that's doubled with his commander in play. So you can tap the Stuffy Doll to deal 2 per turn, and if you manage to deal any damage to it with your own spells, that damage is multiplied, so you can just burn your opponent to death real quick, because there's lots of cards that deal heavy amounts of damage to creatures rather than to players. Cards like Flame Slash, for example. I guess Flame Slash is not an odd... Oh, no, it is. Yeah, it's an odd source of damage. So like Flame Slash or Stuffy Doll with the commander in play is 8 damage to your opponent's face. And you can do things like... and obviously, the most powerful card of all would be the Blasphemous Act. Deal 26 to your opponent if you have your commander in play. Pretty disgusting. All right. I've got a Braid, but that, of course, doesn't deal with Stuffy Doll. And even though it pains me to do this, I'm going to play Dak Faden and steal the Stuffy Doll. This, of course, doesn't mean that the thing won't deal damage to me if he, in fact, has burn for it, but at least it prevents him from tapping it to deal incremental damage to me, which actually is very relevant when I'm at 16. And I don't really see any point in getting Kess into play. I do have that Force of Will, though, thankfully. All right, 5 mana. Heartless Hiretsugu. It's just this another totally nightmarish thing that deals damage equal to the player's life total rounded down, but it's double damage with the commander in play. So this thing literally just says tap to kill your opponent, I guess. I guess he's still got his commander in his hand. Yeah, I don't remember if this is if it's damage dealt to your opponent, but yeah, this thing combined with his commander is just tap to kill your opponent. Seems pretty good. Fortunately, I've got a Braid in my hand. It's just awesome having these kind of like spot removal spells. It's one of the things I really love about the Kess deck is the fact that it can actually justify playing with all this spot removal, which, because you can double up on it, just makes the cards worthwhile in a deck, when normally I don't like to play lots of spot removal in my deck. Okay, I've got 1 blue mana. I'm going to draw first. Probably don't need these shackles anymore. Let's see what we get. Knight's Whisper and Notion Thief. Well, I don't see Vidalcan shackles mattering a great deal. Notion Thief is kind of interesting, although kind of a late game thing. Skydiver potentially could go away, but for now I've got to just deal with the Heartless Hiretsugu. I'm going to throw away those 2. Skydiver just feels like it's not going to be too useful. And first things first, I'm just going to, since I know I can cast the Abrade post-combat, I'm just going to Whisper here and see what the deck yields. I could get lucky and get something like Gilded Lotus, which would be just amazing. I get Opposition Agent and another land, which is what I was really hunting for. I'm going to sack that. And I'm not going to take the 2 just because we're just getting very, very critically low. Notice I'm at this magical number here, 13 damage, but I'm able to burn that creature away. And just chill and sit on Force of Will and hope it's going to be adequate. I do have a lot of really good cards in my graveyard now if I'm able to get Kess running. So he's tapping a bunch of mana here. He plays Mind Stone. Sacks it right away. Passes the turn back. Okay. That was kind of another sigh of relief. He does have his big guy in his hand. I was wondering why he was reluctant to play it. But maybe, I don't know. I'm not really sure what he was worried about. Obviously, he knows I have Force of Will, but he's got enough mana to bait the Force of Will and then play his guy afterward. All right, I've got 3 mana here. So I decide I'm just going to play a Notion Thief here. And obviously, the reason I'm playing Notion Thief is because of its combination with Dak Faden. This is just an insane combo and interaction in the deck. So I target him with the ability. He has to discard 2 cards. He gets double sceptered, and I draw 2 cards, which is just utterly ridiculous value. One of the most powerful interactions in the game. And he discards Chandra's Ignition. Target creature you control deals damage to its power to each other. God, yeah, it's just crazy stuff with his commander. And of course, he throws Obosh in the graveyard, and he'll regrow it back to the command zone. I get to play a land here. And I am not going to, I'm not casting Preordain here. I think part of the reason is because I don't really know what I'm going to be facing next turn. And I don't really want to try to have to predict the future with Preordain and figure out exactly what I'm going to do with it. So I'm going to hold on to the card and wait to see what I'm dealing with next turn before I decide whether or not to cast Preordain. This is something that I think it's a skill that a fair amount of players don't really necessarily take into account, where they cast cards like Preordain or Brainstorm or a Ponder, and they just play it because they have mana available to do it. And then they're sort of left trying to play guesswork about what the game state's going to be in a couple of turns. And when my opponent has a board like this where they doesn't really have anything for me to interact with right now, I feel like casting Preordain right away is not necessarily the correct thing. I like the card to be sort of more adaptative than just playing it proactively. Okay. So he's playing as another land, a whole bunch of mana, and there it is, Blasphemous Act with 1 red mana untapped. And I'm thinking, oh my god, please don't have Please don't have red elemental blast, which is definitely the kind of card that could be in a deck like this. Blasphemous Act, deal 13 to everything, and I'm at 12. Oh my god, with Stuffy Doll in play. Alright, well, I'm going to have to force a will it with that Preordain. I decided that holding on to the Fierce Guardianship is probably more important. That's yet another reason to hold on to the Preordain, is it gives me force a will food. And because I really would like to use the Trinket Mage to go get more mana. But I counter it, survive, go back to my turn, and he's got one card left in hand. I can obviously make him discard it. And I draw 2. And he discards Karvek the Merciless. Well, we know what he had in his hand, obviously, during that period of time when he had 3 and 4 mana. He just had a hand chock full with all these expensive things. The Hidetsugu, Ignition, Karvek, etc. Very, very powerful cards, but of course that high mana cost can sometimes make them uncastable. Alright, starting to feel a little bit better, although still feeling pretty vulnerable, given that I only have Fierce Guardianship in play and he can replay his commander. But I'm going to play some more Artifact mana here. And down comes Kess. And I'm just going to cast the Merchant Scroll from the graveyard to immediately go get Mana Drain. That's right? Yeah. Okay, so I've got Fierce Guardianship to stop any spell. If he plays his commander, it's not the end of the world. I can still continue to draw extra cards off Dak Faden, and I've got this whole graveyard full of stuff. So I can actually, I can't quite get through it, but I can probably find a way to work around it. I could obviously always just bounce it, worst case scenario, if he does in fact play the commander. Alright. Oh, Wheel of Fortune. How interesting. So he plays Wheel here, right? My hand is just stacked. But the more I think about it, I'm like, well, wait a minute. I have Notion Thief in play. I mean, if you really want me to draw 14 cards, I'm not going to object. And I think about it for maybe about 30 seconds. I mean, I do have this nice hand, but really nothing in this hand is particularly important. Mana Drain kind of sucks to lose, but I figure I'm going to draw another counterspell or some kind of tutor or whatever. And given the fact that I'm going to draw 14, the fact that he draws literally nothing off his own Wheel of Fortune is probably safe enough. And sure enough, post-wheel, my hand is stacked to the gills with all sorts of good stuff, including Tezzeret and Treachery and Demonic Tutor and everything else. And of course, he drew nothing, so he laughs and packs it in. And we escape a second consecutive loss, having faced that absolutely ridiculous opening and being down to no mana against multiple threats. But the Kess deck is so strong and so resilient, has so many different answers to things, it was able to pull it out. Whew. Big sigh of relief. Very glad to have won that game. I think the next game I'm going to record is the game that that prefaced this one, the game that came right beforehand, which was the first loss. So stay tuned for that. If you're a fan of me getting crushed, that's coming up soon, and I will see you guys then. Take care.